Welcome back to the Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Aponte, where we will hear stories of incredible people thriving against all odds. And my hope is that we can all see how life is always happening for us, even when we are the less than 1% chance. Hey, welcome back to Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Aponte. I am so excited. I'm doing a solo episode today, and it's going to be about some experiences that I've been really made more aware of and my evolution in parenting, and then a little bit of an announcement at the end of something to look forward to. A lot of things are happening and creative juices are flowing, and I just feel like this feels really, really good in my heart. So let's get into it. I know that I've talked about having my 3 kids. It has been a journey. I was a single mom starting when my oldest was 6, about to be 7. And then my son was probably like 5. And then the little one was like 2.5, maybe. Yeah, 2.5. So I've been a single parent for most of their lives. I've had relationships in between, 2 significant relationships that they have seen me in. And the longest I've been with somebody has been with my current relationship, Danny. And we have been together for almost 5 years now. The other relationship was very on and off. So during some really, really tough times, I was doing it on my own. And it was definitely not easy. It was so much. I wish there was a manual on how to parent each child, because it's like vastly different from one child to the next to the next. And that has been my experience. The way that I parented my oldest, which is now 20 years old at the time of this recording, and the way that I parent now my 15-year-old is completely different. I've learned a lot more about myself. I've learned to find peace within myself. I've grown, I've evolved. The way that I've parented has evolved immensely. And sometimes I feel sad that I didn't know this stuff, but I don't think that I would have with my oldest, but I don't think I would have been where I'm at if I wouldn't have gone through the things I went through with her. So let it be for good or for bad. I'm not sure, but like I always say, life is always happening for you. I truly feel like we learned together, her and I became a much better parent because of her. So she was the catalyst. She got not the greatest parts of me, but parts that were always trying to be the best that I could possibly be. So, taking it back a little bit, she struggled a lot with mental health since the moment that we separated, her dad and I, and in the process of our divorce and all the things. She was really struggling. She obviously felt it the most because she was the oldest, and definitely felt that absence the most in that time period. The little one was just like, la la la. It just became part of her second nature. So Isabelle, my oldest, would have outbursts, and she was very, very difficult to try to, I don't want to say control, but like she acted to the beat of her own drum, let's just say. And it was very difficult, especially when you're also parenting 2 other children, running a household by yourself, the bills, the work, the everything that all ran together. It was not easy to parent her. However, I feel like I learned so much through parenting her, through really truly learning as I went. And it, let's just say she exhausted the crazy mom in me. She exhausted that. And it was tough. It was tough because a lot of the times that I felt like I needed that support from from her father. I didn't get it the way that I thought that I needed it. I expected it. I learned a lot. I learned that one of the biggest lessons I would say that I learned was that expecting someone else to show up the way that you do is going to lead to suffering. And that's for anything, but especially when you are co-parenting. You cannot expect the person, your co-parent, to show up the way that you do because you weren't raised the same, you are not the same person. Your expectations of who you are as a parent won't match the expectations that the other person will have as them being a parent. It's two totally different things. I learned to come to grips with that. Doesn't mean that I didn't have frustrating times, and doesn't mean that I didn't lose my ever-loving mind a number of times. However, I really feel like that has been huge because when I learned that I can't expect my ex-husband to show up as a parent the way that I would show up, because simply he wasn't raised the same way as I was. He was already like going above and beyond the expectations of what he grew up with. He grew up with a father that didn't show up all the time. And he has consistently been there every other weekend, every other week in the summer, or however our summer schedule ended up looking like. He has been there every single time. He's usually never late with child support. There is so much to say for the fact that I can now see that he shows up so much more than what he grew up with. He's an excellent father. Excellent father. And I could say that wholeheartedly, not because he met my expectations, but because he exceeded the ones that he had for himself. And he exceeded what he grew up with. And I think that's what we always strive for as a parent. I want to be a better parent. I want to take from the good things that I saw as an example from my parents, but then I also want to evolve from the things that I don't feel were the best, right? Because there's no manual, like I said at the beginning, there's no manual for parenting. There is just doing your best. Because I don't believe we show up thinking, well, today I'm going to try my worst. No, we always try our best, and our best is going to look different every single time. So this is my plea to you so that you understand that you are doing your best. You are never trying to do your worst. You are always trying to do your best. Your best may not look the same every single day, because I could assure you, when I was dealing with cancer and depression, I didn't show up the same way as I did when I was healthy and not dealing with all of that. Two different people. However, I was doing my best in all situations. So have a little bit of grace with yourself, understand that, but also have grace with the person that you're co-parenting with, because it is so important for you to understand that co-parenting isn't them meeting your expectations, it's them doing their best every single time. And you can't expect someone to be who you want them to be. You need to just hope that they are trying to evolve and to be the best that they know to be. So with that being said, I feel like I have evolved as a mom. I think that my 15-year-old now is getting a much different mom than my 20-year-olds got at that age. I struggled so much with not only her as a teenager and me going through postmenopause at that time, I also struggled so much with her mental health and how to deal with it. And there was no manual. With that being said, I feel like I have evolved into more of, I guess what the term now is conscious parenting. And it's really hit exactly how I would have wanted to be parented when I was growing up. So yes, did I get love and attention from my family? Yes, they were amazing parents. I am so incredibly grateful for my parents. And then there was things that I would have wanted different. And I feel like now this is me learning how to parent not only my inner child and heal those parts of me, but now I get to parent that way to my youngest and have that connection that I yearn for with my parents, especially with my mom. So this has been a huge evolution, and I'm going to give you an example of a situation that happened with my youngest. And so she has this long distance boyfriend, which I have no opinion on. I had been in a long distance relationship at some point in like actually around her age, and it sucked, and I don't recommend. However, I am not there to choose anything for anybody. I am there to guide and to make aware of the pros and the cons of situations. I have no opinion either way. If you want to go for it and be in a long distance relationship, you do you, boo boo. I will guide you and but I won't tell you what to do. So there was this long distance boyfriend. Obviously, the only way they have access to each other is over the phone. And so I have a boundary. Let's put it that way. I have a boundary that phones come into my room at 9 o'clock at night on school nights. I just strongly feel that kids need their rest. And when they are tempted with the ability to not be resting and being social or having connection with a boyfriend or a friend or whatever, they will choose no resting. Believe me, I know, because that's usually what happens if I don't leave that boundary there. So anyways, boundaries 9, I had gone into her room like at 8:53 one night and told her phone, and she's like, I have 7 more minutes. And I was like, all right, well, I better see the phone there at 9 o'clock. So I go into the room, go to shower or whatever. I get out of the shower and I open the door to my room, and the phone is still not on the charger. And it was 9:25. I was like, what? I was not very happy. So I was like, phone now. I'm coming. Okay. So this is the scenario. So from there, she obviously brought the phone almost 30 minutes later, and I told her, okay, well, I am going to just get a little more strict on screen time, and I'm going to put boundaries back in place that I had taken down, because if you can't follow the simple rules of this house, then I will put boundaries up that you have no other choice but to follow them. And she was not happy. She was, oh, so mad. And my son was like, you have it so easy. It was so much harder for us, and blah, blah, blah. He was like being the advocate of like, count your blessings, child, because you've had it so much easier. But, anyways, so she gets upset. And we have old phones in our drawers, in our room, whatever. Well, I guess throughout the week, because there was a boundary in place and phones had to be turned in at a certain time, and everything got shut off, so she had no access to anything. She went into our room and took one of the other phones. What they call nowadays a trap phone, because it's a phone that
is just connected to Wi-Fi so they could still do the calling and all that kind of stuff. And so she had been using that after 9 and was coming to my office or to my room and like, look, it's 9. I'm putting the phone down, and then going into her room and using the phone all night long. Anyways, so I wake up one morning and we have a doctor's appointment. So she has to get up and get ready super early. So I go into her room to give her phone so that she can hear the alarm go off and her watch because it was charging in my room. And all of a sudden I see the phone lit up on her bed. She's knocked out, but the phone is on a call. And so the boyfriend and her fall asleep on FaceTime. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So I didn't say anything. What I wanted to do, let me tell you, what I wanted to do was lose my crap on her, wake her up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like yelling and screaming. However, I'm a different kind of human now. And so that morning, I came into my office, into here, and I scrolled through messages. I scrolled through, they had just celebrated like their month anniversary, whatever, their 1 month. And so, like, I scrolled through some of the conversations over the last few days, and I was like, red flags were going off, right? Just from their conversations. And I was like, okay. So I sit here and on this chair and I meditate. I do like a 20-minute meditation because I need to go from like level 5,000 to like, I need myself at a 2. Okay. So I come in here, meditate, do a 20-minute meditation, get my workout done because I know I have to get done super early, do the things that I need to do to take care of myself and be in a calm, collective place in my own realm to then be able to have this conversation with her. And so I don't say anything immediately. I leave the watch, but take both phones with me. So she knew that I had found the phone. And so we drop off my son at school, and then I'm like, all right, I need you to come to the front. And so we need to have a conversation. I was like, you know what this is about, right? And she's like, yep. And I said to her, I was like, so how do you think that I should react? She was completely thrown off because, granted, she saw how the other two were raised. Not necessarily even my son because he didn't do these kind of things, but she saw how Isabelle was raised and like how I would lose my mind when something like this would happen. So she was thrown off with the question of, how do you think I should react to this? And she was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, I could tell you how I wanted to react. I wanted to wake you up at that time and like smack you for like completely disregarding everything that I said. However, I didn't do that because I'm a better person and I will not allow whatever you're doing to take that much energy from me, that much power from me. So I went and meditated. I went and worked out, hopefully teaching her at the same time that those things are so important for your own well-being, for your own mental health. I'm like, okay, what made you think that this was a good idea? I don't know, it was impulsive and like I didn't even really think about it. And I said, well, I didn't really think about it either. And I started looking at your messages and I found some things that I would like to make you aware of. And I feel like the conversations that you are having in the last few days with the boyfriend are like this love bombing kind of scenario. You're the best, you're perfect, you're everything, I love you, blah, 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 blah. And then you're not doing enough. Why was your post so much less than mine? Like gaslighting. So it was like love bombing, gaslighting, love bomb. And I was like, I need to make you aware of the fact that this is very much a recipe for a toxic relationship, and maybe even leads to some type of, if it isn't addressed, it could lead to just a really abusive relationship, even if it's emotionally and mentally abusive. That's not doing anything good for you. That, like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're not enough, you're not enough. Like, that is not okay. Just those are red flags that I saw from just the last few days conversation. And I really feel like you need to think about how you are being treated and know that you are worthy of so much more, and you are enough in all capacities. I know that I've personally struggled with the not enoughness in so many areas of my life, and that to this day is still a struggle. I want her to be able to learn that earlier, and so she can go through her life knowing this as an innate knowing, like she knows it in her bones. So this is a very important conversation that I'm having with her. Thankfully, we also have counseling that same night. And so we have this conversation, and I asked her, how would you want me to go about consequences? Because for every good and bad action, there's a good and bad consequence. That is a knowing that you have to know for the rest of forever. So understand that if there's good things that you're doing, there's good consequences that happen. If there's bad things that you're doing, there's bad consequences. So there has to be a consequence. What is your consequence that you feel that you deserve at this point? And she wouldn't tell me. She's like, "I don't know, mom. I don't know." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to be creative, and I'm going to make a consequence, but you're going to have to be okay with it because you never gave me any input, and I could take your input and tweak it, but you didn't give me an input, so I have to be creative about it." And we talked after her doctor's appointment, we talked about there's going to be no access to any social media like TikTok or Snapchat or anything like that. And the only time that she's got access to talking to the boyfriend is in, like, if I'm in the room. And that's it. And so she was like, I accept those consequences, blah, blah, blah. She had an amazing talk with her therapist, actually came and apologized to me, a heartfelt apology, which she started crying, I started crying, all the things. We're both emotional. She had a conversation with her boyfriend and basically told him that this was not okay, that that she saw that this was this pattern, she was made aware of this pattern, and she needs to learn how to make sure that she loves herself, and that he needs to work on whatever he needs to work on. They can work on it together. However, this treatment was not acceptable. I was like, "Oh my gosh, the emotional maturity of this child, my mind is blown. Mine is blown. I'm so proud of her." Well, then fast forward a few days, maybe like almost a week later. It was a little less than a week later. We have an appointment that we have to go to early in the morning or something like that. I don't remember. But all I know is my computer ended up in her room when she was supposed to go to sleep. And she was using it to talk to the boyfriend. And I was like, "Oh, so we're escalating this. Now you're taking my computer from my office and taking it to talk to the boyfriend." So she got full access to him taken away for about a week and could not message. She couldn't talk, no communication for a week. And we had, again, conversations about all of this. And she was not very happy about it. And I said, well, those are, again, consequences to your actions. And so this is still brought on a very important dialogue between her and I that I explained, and she obviously, after she was upset and whatever, when she calmed down, she understood that I escalated my level of what I was doing. And so the consequences kept escalating. So now, if she is on point and turning in her phone at 9, the computer is staying in the office, things are going back little by little. She's getting restrictions removed that I heightened with the consequence. So those are things that I've learned as a parent. I didn't know that it had a name. It's called conscious parenting. And so it's definitely something that I am learning more about, but also something that I feel like I wish I would have learned a few years ago when I was dealing with the situations with Isabelle. And so I just to announce and put it out there in the world. This is the first time I'm announcing it. In about a month, I am going to launch a course about conscious parenting, and more exclusively towards teenage girls, because I feel like it could probably work for both girls and boys, but I really want it to focus on girls because it is such, with hormones, with everything happening, there's so much going on. And so I'm working on putting a course together. It'll have a workbook and everything. It'll be about, as far as I know right now, 7 or so modules, about 3 lessons per module. I'm like putting the framework together, putting the videos, or starting to record the videos in the next week or so. So this is very fresh, very new, all the things that I am learning personally and what I will continue to evolve with. But I really feel like I am in a much better place as a parent. And I feel like my child responds so much better than what I used to get as a response to this kind of parenting than whatever I was doing before with Isabelle. So I really want to, so it's going to launch May 3rd. Friday, May 3rd, 2024. So if you were listening after that date, then it's already launched. And it'll be on my website and everything. So I will put all the information out there as soon as it is available. But I'm really, really excited about this because it's really something that I feel like if I am 5 steps ahead of somebody else, which was the old me, I can be that beacon of light to show that there's a different way that doesn't exhaust you and that puts your oxygen mask on first and before you go and like rage on the kid. And really, I feel so blessed that I've evolved so much, and I feel so incredibly blessed that Isabelle and I have the relationship that we do now. However, I wish I would have had that before. And so I'm really, really excited about this. Creative juices are flowing and more of that to come. But yeah, I think that is all that I have for you all today. Comment below or leave a review or message me on social media if you have more questions, and just look out for more information on my social medias and my email list. But yeah, I think that's all for today. I want to thank you so much for listening in or watching, and peace out, guys. Love your life. Bye.